officially welcome you to Miles for Migraine's Design a Tattoo event. Whether you're joining us live or watching a recording of this on our YouTube channel, we are glad you are here. So my name is Heidi. Christy and I will be your hosts for this evening. Christy will be monitoring the chat and available if you need support, as will Sedona. We are all volunteer members of the Miles for Migraine Social Committee, and we have migraine disease. Like I said before, Sedona is also helping out, as is Hayden. And it's great to see some familiar faces and also some new ones. Is anyone joining a Miles for Migraine social event for the first time? I don't know. The best way to let me know that maybe is to raise your Zoom hand. I see a couple thumbs up, so great. Well, we're really excited that you're here. So I'm going to quickly go over our schedule. We're going to go over some guidelines, and then in the first half, we're going to hear some possible healing benefits of getting a tattoo. We're going to explore some migraine and headache tattoo designs. And then we're going to meet our guest tattoo artist and get his tips for designing a great tattoo and getting a great tattoo. And then in the second half, we're going to draw tattoo designs. And during that time, we'll also do a Q&A with our guests. So if at any point you have a question, let me see if we have the Q&A icon. If you can find it, use it. If you can't, use the chat. How about that? And then after we design, we're going to break out into rooms and do a little show and tell with our design and its meaning. And then we'll come back together to wrap things up. So I'm going to start with some guidelines. We just want to make sure this is a safe place for everyone. So during the event, if you need any accommodations or support, please let me, Christy, or Sedona know. We want to make sure that everyone's putting their mental and physical health first this evening. You must agree to the waiver in advance of participating. So if you didn't sign up for the webinar and some other way got in, please use the link in the chat to register. And just, Sedona, do you have access to all those links to enter them in? If not, they're in the Google Doc, if you're able to get to that.
Yeah, I have the Google Doc open, so.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead and just enter those in the chat, if Christy isn't able to do it, then that would be great. Then this event is being recorded and it will be shared on YouTube. So if you don't wish to be visible during the recording, it's okay to have your camera off. If you want to change your name, that's okay too. We are not going to be providing any medical advice today. Please don't give advice to others when we're in the sharing portion, except for our guests. That's why you're here. And feel free when we're sharing to share what works for you. That's okay. Also use extreme caution when discussing practitioners, brands, providers, medications, organizations, and such by name, because we don't want to disparage anyone. Please be respectful and avoid inappropriate language. Also be just careful when discussing issues with multiple viewpoints. This is a safe place. We are inclusive of all races, ages, genders, and identities, and discriminatory and divisive language will not be tolerated. Also, please respect that we're all on unique journeys, so there's no correct way to live with migraine and headache disorders. All of our experiences and approaches are valid. We hope everyone is comfortable sharing, but it's totally okay to pass. Do try to monitor how much you're talking while we're sharing so that you're not talking more than the other people in your breakout room. We want all participants to have an equal opportunity to share. I do want to warn everyone that suicide will be referenced. If you have concerns that that will be triggering for you, then this event might not be a good fit for you, and it's totally okay to log off. If at any time you are triggered, please call or text 988 and get help from the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Visual disturbances and audio disturbances can trigger or worsen migraine and headache disorders attacks. So you might be muted or asked to turn off your video for everyone's comfort and health. I would like to invite you to make some changes if your environment might trigger others. So if you are using a fan and it's visible, especially the strobing effect is visible to the rest of us, you can either turn it off or just move your camera so we can't see that. I would truly appreciate that. That's a big trigger for me. And virtual or fuzzed out backgrounds can create visual disturbances or can be triggering also. So if you're able to just use your real background, that's best. And please have your microphone off when you're not sharing. So if there's anything else that you want addressed, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand now. Otherwise, I'm going to move off and
Sorry, Heidi, it wouldn't let me in.
Oh, well, now you're in. Good. That's good to see everyone. Great.
It made me like re-register.
Me too. I don't know what that was about.
I was like, so I tried it a couple times and I was like, why is it making me register again? So it wasn't just me. Okay.
It wasn't just you, but it wasn't everyone. So I don't know, but it's hopefully everyone's in who wants to be in by now.
I'm gonna send Chris a quick text to remind him to show up.
He's here.
He's here.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
Chris
going.
Nami?
Yeah. And a dog too. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. Let's see if my PowerPoint works. It's not. How do you like that? There we go. All right. Oh, I was supposed to show this earlier. Sorry. This is our schedule. All right. So we're going to talk about some healing benefits of getting a tattoo. And I have to say, I was surprised to discover that there is limited research about the healing benefits of getting a tattoo. But there are studies that identify benefits for helping heal after the death of a loved one and surviving a trauma or cancer. So based on the readings I've done of those studies, I've compiled a list of ways that getting a tattoo may be beneficial to people with migraine and other headache disorders. So the first way is that tattoos allow people to share their personal story or parts of their identity non-verbally with others. Tattoos are a valuable conversation starter that provide a gateway into sharing who we are. Tattoos allow people to make their invisible challenge visible. Trauma tattoo research revealed that survivors indicated the need to turn their invisible injury into a visible mark. One research participant shared, when you lose a hand or leg, people see you. In my case, it's something that's hiding inside. Tattoos allow people to have control over their bodies. A study indicated that a core reaction to trauma is feeling the loss of control. And as a person with migraine, I can really relate to that feeling. The decision to get a tattoo can allow the survivor a way to take back control over physical and emotional injury. One of the researchers explained that survivors seek tattooing as an alternative therapeutic process. Participants shared that the control they had over the tattoo process and what happened to their bodies was indirectly connected to their processing of the trauma. Tattoos allow people to have a different relationship with their body. Being able to reclaim control over your body can change your relationship to it and allow you to more easily accept it. A psychiatrist or psychologist rather, who studied body image points out, once you get your tattoo, you feel much closer to your body. Tattoos allow people to be constantly reminded of their strength, resilience, determination, and hopefulness. A tattoo artist shared that for many people, the tattoo will be a marker of particular life experience and the strength that they derived from it. Tattoos allow people to connect with others in their communities through shared imagery that represents a common struggle. These tattoos can help people identify others who are like them, and when they are on their own, their tattoo can remind them that they are not alone. Tattoos allow people to mark a transformation, such as your feelings changing from feeling like a victim of migraine and headache disorders to feeling like a migraine or headache warrior. Tattoos allow people to process their experience through art. Some see designing tattoos as a form of art therapy. And then this final slide just shows the articles that I referenced. All right, so let me move so I can see more faces. Perfect. We're going to explore migraine and headache disorders tattoos with some patient advocate stories. And we're going to start with Anna. So give me a minute. Trying to manage the recording and speaking at the same time. That's a little challenging for me. All right. Hopefully I did that right. So we're going to start by chatting with Anna Williams. Anna has migraine, chronic cluster headache, and trigeminal neuralgia. Her 2 daughters also have migraine disease. Anna is a board member of Cluster Busters and also volunteers with the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy, the Headache Alliance, and CHAMP, which is the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients. So I'm going to show you. It's the 2 computer thing. It's really hard on my brain. All right. So here is a photograph of Anna's tattoo. So Anna, my first question for you is, what made you decide to get a headache disorder tattoo?
I did it for several reasons. I loved your presentation just now because I did it for a lot of those reasons. One of the big ones was for awareness, because I often do wear an awareness shirt and things, but bringing this tattoo together, it gave me a lot of really good talking points to a lot of different kinds of people, because they see the tattoo and they will ask me about it. And I have a lot of different stories built into this one picture. But part of it too was, when I did the tattoo, I really wanted it to be about hope. And that's what I was trying to encompass in this, that yes, I have terrible headache diseases, but I have hope.
I love that. And your tattoo is the first time I saw, I don't know if it's the reverse acronym. So the hold on pain ends. I've never seen hope written out that way or heard anyone say that. And I just loved that so much, because there are a lot of moments when you're really grasping, or I'm really grasping for hope, because I just need to
I
remember.
can't take ownership for it. The cluster community taught it to me.
It's okay, you helped spread it. So that kind of brings up the next question, which is, how did you come up with this design? I just love your tattoo, and I kind of want to know the meaning behind things in it.
Absolutely. So cluster headache is referred often as suicide headaches. Trigeminal neuralgia is often referred to as the suicide disease. And I wanted to find a way to talk about those diseases, but also talk about the hope. And so you see the butterfly, and I even reached out and asked some people to make sure there wasn't another meaning to the butterfly than the one I was using it for. But to me, it's resilience. It's, the butterfly is so delicate, but it's so resilient too. And it's to me, it's a symbol of hope for trigeminal neuralgia. We use it all the time in the community. The mushrooms, I asked for a psilocybin type mushroom. I knew he was gonna have to like search for an image, so I was like, look up golden teacher. And because we have a lot of research showing this is a real hope for not only cluster headache, but even for migraine and potentially other chronic pain disorders. And so to me, that's the hope of our future, is that we're going to have things like this that are very natural that can help us. And then I have heard ever since I joined the cluster community, hope, hold on, pain ends. And I thought about just putting the 4 letters, but I wanted to write it out. And so I had them write it out. And I added the semicolon in there for suicide awareness. I have struggled with suicidal ideation in the past, and it was I've wanted that as a tattoo for a very long time, and I finally got my picture put together, and so I went and got it.
That's so awesome. So I don't know if you want to explain more about the semicolon or I can.
I can tell you, so when I first found out about it, it was through Project Semicolon. And what I recall of it was they used a semicolon because you can you can use a semicolon in the same place you could use a period. You know, when you're writing, you can use a period, or you can choose to use a semicolon showing that the story continues. And so I have struggled for many, many years, and my story's not over yet. And I think that was their tagline for a while, your story isn't over. And that really stuck with me for a lot of years. It's been a lot of years of planning a tattoo, so.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the first time I had seen the semicolon and I knew it was, you know, like a suicide awareness or suicide survival thing, but I didn't know the meaning behind it and that idea that, you know, here, I'll just read what I had written because I can't remember off the top of my head things. But a semicolon represents a sentence that the author could have ended but chose not to. It represents a choice you could have made to end your story, but instead chose to continue on. I think like knowing that for me makes it so much more powerful. And it is really a great symbol for that. Great. Well, we will ask you more questions later. I'm trying to keep things moving so that I don't keep people up all night. So give me one more second. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to pin and unpin people. We'll see if it works out in the recording. So next, we're going to look at some examples of tattoo designs shared in Paige Wyant's The Mighty article. And here, let me. Perfect. There it is. 15 gorgeous tattoos inspired by migraine. So I'm going to flip through this quickly and just read what the people, some of the people featured in her article said about their tattoos. This is so much smaller than I was expecting it to be. We'll see how I do. I got this simple sun tattoo to help remind me of my internal strength through the highs and lows of life. I have to, sorry, I really need to try and make this bigger. Otherwise, I'm getting magnifying glass. All right. Highs and lows of life while dealing with chronic migraines and anxiety. It goes along with one of my favorite quotes. The sun is a daily reminder that we too can rise again from the darkness, that we too can shine our own light. Every day is a new day to try again and embrace the beauty of this world despite chronic illness. It is for suicide awareness and the heart for love. The pain from my migraine makes me want to end it sometimes, but then I look down and remember that I have people that love me and still need me and that it gets better. My phoenix. I got this on my shoulder last year. She is not in traditional colors of a phoenix, but instead has the awareness colors represented. And I love the mythology and mantra of from the ashes I will rise. These conditions may affect me and knock me down, but I will rise. Purple is for the migraine awareness. I have chronic migraine. Other colors include pink for breast cancer. My mother is a survivor, and teal for PCOS, which I also have. Purple is also for Alzheimer's awareness. My grandmother has this. I got the tattoo above with infinite faith, and strength as a daily reminder that I am stronger than my chronic migraines and all the struggles they bring with them. I was diagnosed with migraines over 20 years ago. My life has been anything but easy, for sure. However, I'm thankful for each day that I am able to get out of bed and live as normal a life as possible. When I was 15, I was poisoned by an antibiotic prescribed to me after a progressive bacterial ear infection. In its wake, I was left with no vestibular system and was diagnosed with chronic migraine shortly after. I got this tattoo to remind myself I am a force of nature and that I have survived metaphorical disasters. Every time I look at it spiraling out of my PICC-line scar, I tell myself how strong I am to keep going. It has been a monumental pillar in my healing and life with chronic pain. This is my chronic pain tattoo for migraines, fibromyalgia, Sjogren's, Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, microscopic colitis, etc. And on the tattoo, it says, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, it never ends. Hope is essential to living with migraine. Surviving and living well with migraine disease takes hope, support, perseverance, and constantly learning. I got this at the end of high school. It is a lotus flower that has fortitude written inside of it. It signifies that I can still grow in murky water and that it takes fortitude to continue with the day-to-day struggles and learn from them rather than let them break me down. I got this tattoo just a few weeks ago after struggling with chronic migraines, vertigo, occipital neuralgia, and degenerative disc of the cervical spine for the past 3+ years. I have pain every day. I'm never completely pain-free. The tat represents spoon theory and being part of the spoonie community. The positive symbolism is that now I always have a spoon left at the end of the day. I have a tattoo on my neck that is inspired by my chronic migraine. It's a rose and a dagger. For me, they symbolize the beauty and pain, that beauty and pain lie close together and do not necessarily exclude each other. There's beauty in my husband holding my hand during an attack, and there's pain in all the beautiful things that I am no longer able to do. I have also met a lot of beautiful people on my way with this illness, but there's also the pain of the people I have lost along the way. The placement is also important because my Botox treatment is administered, among other places, in the neck too. Okay, now give me a second to readjust my screen. All right. So, and then this is not from that article, but I wanted to make sure to include it because many people in our community have the Retreat Migraine logo, which was designed by Sean Maher. Hopefully that's how he says his last name. And here's an example of how Alexis personalized it. So she said, I got the Retreat Migraine logo tattooed with the words, I am not alone on my shoulder back, because I know the migraine community, migraine family will always have my back and I'm never alone. So those are some examples to get you guys inspired. Give me another minute. I've got to play with my pinning again. Okay, next. We are going to meet Chris Nami, who's a professional tattoo artist, and he's been shaping skin with ink for over 2 decades. His mastery of styles shines through from the stark beauty of black and gray, realism portraits to the explosive vibrancy of color work and the bold lines of neo-traditional. He describes himself as a jack of all trades. With his dedication to tattooing, he has earned a spot in tattoo magazines and multiple awards. But his life isn't just about the needle. He has a broader artistic vision that encompasses painting, illustration, sculpture, and even custom furniture design. As a former tattoo shop owner, he understands the business as well as the creative pulse of the tattoo world. You can find him in Louisville, Colorado at Empire Bound North Social Club, a high-end tattoo studio with a calming atmosphere and artists who truly love their craft. So hello, Chris, and thank you so much for being here.
No problem.
Yeah, we're just so thrilled that you are willing to donate your time to give us some tips. So I'm sure you've seen a wide array of designs. Some are probably amazing and some not so amazing. So what advice do you have to help us design some great headache disorder tattoos?
I definitely saw designs that, so there's a difference between a great idea for a tattoo and a great execution for a tattoo. There's quality tattoos and not so quality tattoos, and they're different. So the execution, obviously, I would recommend finding the best tattoo artist that you can find. And sometimes that's a challenge because the better tattoo artists get, the more limiting they become with their process and what they're willing to do for you. I personally am willing to do just about any size or idea of tattoo. With 22 years experience, like I'm a little unique in that. So do the best you can and find the best artist you can. I mean, it's permanent, it's on your skin, so it's forever. So, find quality. At the same time, there are particulars about a tattoo design. So trust your artist, whoever you find. Obviously, hopefully the most experience you can get, and trust what they tell you in the design process. So some of the things that I see most commonly with what I would consider a poorly done tattoo or poorly executed tattoo is trying to combine too many ideas into one tattoo. And it doesn't matter the size, like it could be a very small tattoo, but it could also be a very large tattoo. I call it the tea party of design. So you have your host and a few guests, but no more than that, because it makes it convoluted, it makes it messy. You really want a focal point and then maybe some supporting things, but no more than 3 total, like in general in design. Sometimes you can fix and do some things that are hidden. I call them Easter eggs. You can have some Easter eggs, but the Easter eggs are easier when the design is bigger. So if you're going to go with a very small design as a reminder, like on the wrist or something, try to keep it down to one image that kind of represents all the different things. Images are always better, in my opinion, versus words or letters or dates and that kind of thing. Our brains are hardwired from a very young age to recognize letters and dates and numbers and symbols. When you combine those with an image or a design, the viewer, including yourself, will see the letters and the numbers and stuff before you will see the design. So do you want to be aesthetically pleasing, or do you want to say something? Letters, words, those kinds of things are all great if you want to say something, but combining them takes away from both of them, if that makes sense. So you want to, if you want to say something, say something. If you want to have an aesthetically pleasing design that represents something, stick with that. Don't try to combine the two. Outside of that, I don't know what else to
That's great.
to say.
I love the tea party idea. Just I can visualize that. And it makes sense to me a lot.
Typically in design, we work in threes. So you try to build a cohesive design working in 3 units. So you have, like I said, you have your focal point. You might have what I call the antagonist to that focal point, and then you'll have something supporting it, whether it be like nature or flowers or something like that, that just kind of like frames it and cradles it. But you usually have your focal point and then a framework, or you have a focal point and an antagonist and a framework, and then you kind of limit it to that.
That sounds so good. I have a lot of follow-up questions, but I'm sure other people do too.
Perfect.
So you're not going anywhere.
No, it's okay.
And we're gonna have the Q&A, and that way people will have a chance to ask you and Anna more the follow-up questions, I guess. So we're gonna take a logistical break and get people drawing. So if you came in later and you didn't hear like the overview at the beginning, we're gonna start drawing, but while you're drawing, we're gonna ask Chris and Anna some questions. So if you have any questions, if you found the Q&A box, I don't know if you even have one tonight, use it. If not, just put it in the chat. You can also raise your Zoom hand. And we're going to ask them some questions. So I think we'll spend 20 minutes doing that. We can check in after that 20 minutes if people need more time. We can see where we are. So if you like really want to be in the zone while you're designing, you don't want to listen to the Q&A, just set a timer right now for 20 minutes, and then you'll know when to hop back on. Let's see if I missed anything. So we're gonna draw. It might be something you actually, like, you're really planning to get a tattoo, and so this might be something you're very seriously doing. It also might just be that you're just taking some time to do some therapeutic drawing. Like, there are no rules. If you don't want it to be headache disorder related, that's fine too. All right, so we're gonna take that 20 minutes. I have to, of course, do some unpinning. And let's see. And go ahead and start drawing. It looks like we already have Darcy lined up with the question. So go ahead, Darcy.
My question's for Chris. If you have a tattoo that is in writing, can you go back over it to after time to make it highlighted any better if it fades or anything like that, or are you stuck with it fading? You know what I'm saying?
It all depends on the tattoo. Different tattoos are done with different quality and different darknesses or thicknesses, those kinds of things. Something I try to do with what I call fixer-uppers is just kind of evaluate what they have going on. Sometimes it's very easy to clean it up and then like freshen up the lines and make it crisper. The downside to it is the ink. The ink is always in your skin. It never leaves. It does fade and spread and those kinds of things depending on how it was done. So the more ink you add to it, the more you kind of complicate that problem over time. If it's simply faded, then it's really easy to just freshen it up and make it clean looking again. If it's very heavy and dark, sometimes I recommend not adding more to it, but possibly even covering it up and then adding some fresh new lettering somehow to the design, or make it into an art piece that represents the same thing. Sometimes I coach my clients to stay away from the art piece that represents what your idea is or what the meaning behind the tattoo is, and then adding text to it because it becomes redundant. So you're saying the same thing you're showing. So if we can cover up the wording to make an art piece that says the same thing, that's sometimes better because the art piece will survive better long term than the lettering will. if that makes sense. And I'm sorry, I talk with my
You
hands a
probably
lot,
can't, no,
so
you're
I
making sense. I
apologize.
was looking at my tattoo. It probably, you can't see it, I'm sure. It was just a small word that said be brave and had a flower at the end, and I can still read it, but a lot of people can't tell what it says. Because I think she did it a little bit too thick, the lettering. And so I just always
Okay.
thought, or maybe it was just the way she wrote it. I didn't know if there was ever any way they could make it better. I don't mind it, but I wish it was more readable to people.
Right, right. And sometimes that's the problem with the lettering, is that because it is a small tattoo and the way tattoos do evolve in the body, sometimes small lettering isn't the best idea.
Well, yeah, and I'm old, I'm getting old, so my skin's getting saggy, so,
I can relate. I can relate. But sometimes also, I find with my clients, for various reasons, and not just survivors of something or whatever, but sometimes the cover up and the redesign and creating an art piece is part of that evolution of how they feel and how they've grown and how they've evolved and have dealt with whatever issue it might be. So sometimes the cover up is also representative of, that's where I was, but this is where I'm at now, and that's a good thing as well.
that's kind of a neat idea. I like that.
So you can take an old tattoo, make it a cover up, and it becomes a phoenix, and now the phoenix has risen up from the ashes of the bad tattoo, and now you have a good tattoo that is really beautiful, and it's got multi levels of that metaphor, if you want to look at it like that.
That's true. I like that. Yeah.
I was a little
And I-
distracted, so I don't know if you already answered this, Chris, but is there like a expected life of a tattoo? Like without it being touched up, I guess?
Usually we say about 10 years is a good expectation for a tattoo to look not like it did when it was new, but it should be as acceptable in a 10-year period. And then after 10 years, depending on, there's so many factors, everybody's body's different, sun exposure, those kinds of things all affect tattoos. Lifestyle, how much water you drink, how you take care of your skin, all those things can affect a tattoo. Usually about 10 years is kind of our zone of like, hey, maybe you should get that touched up. The more well done the tattoo and the more well designed the tattoo is, the longer term it will survive. Which is why it's really important to pick a good artist that does good clean work and understands those things. And they might coach you in a direction that might be a little different than what you imagine in your own head. And at the same time, like, just remind yourself, if you're not an artist, that this is what artists do. They are artists, and they, if they are experienced, they've seen their tattoos evolve over time from when they started to like where I'm at 22 years later. I've seen a lot of tattoos I did when I was young, or younger, I should say, that I look back on, I'm like, oh, I should have done it like this. I could have been better in different ways. We all evolve. So it's it really varies, and it's really hard to say, but I would say, like, I would say about a 10-year period is when you might start thinking about brightening it up or freshening it up or whatever. But I've done tattoos also that are now 15 years old that I'm like, that's a really good tattoo. That's still a really nice thing to look at.
That's awesome. Great. Sedona and Christy too, just jump in at any time with more questions. So Sedona, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, because you talk a lot about finding a good tattoo artist, how do you do that? Because I've wanted to get a tattoo for a long time, but I don't know anyone who's a reliable source to go
Okay.
to?
That's actually a really good question. If I was looking for somebody without my contacts, social media is like the mainstream thing right now. Maybe look up hashtags of certain designs and really spend some time going through and be like, oh, I really love that. And the person probably lives in like Amsterdam or something, which is tough. But you can also look up locations. So looking at your profile, I see Seattle. So look up Seattle tattoo artist. And you can put multiple hashtags in like Instagram or Facebook, Seattle tattoo artist. And if you like, let's say, American traditional style tattoos, you can also hashtag that. And then it will bring you pictures. I deal with social media all the time. I'm not a fan of social media, but it's a necessity in my business. So I literally just took a seminar on social media yesterday. So I was in like a 3-hour meeting about how social media works to make my business better. So yeah, so like start with your location and then you can start looking within that location into more specifics, and then you will see people's portfolios, and then you can go into them, and then you can contact them however they say on their profile to contact them. And you don't even have to have a friend who knows a friend. A lot of times I find that the referral business for me is really good because I have a really good base of clients. But just because your friend says this is the guy, that may not be the guy or gal, or person or whatever. It's not always the best choice to go that way. Find somebody that you see their work, you know their work, and then go check them out. Like meet with them, do a consult, talk to them, get a good vibe from them. Or you might not get a good vibe before you give them any of your money. Go to their shop, see the shop, meet with them, and then if you feel good about the experience, that's really important too, because it's not always the artwork, it's the experience itself. It's a great experience. You'll always remember that tattoo as something that was awesome. Even if it's a very simple tattoo, if you have a great time with your artist and you talk and it's a good thing, then there's a lot of positive energy with that tattoo. If you go and the artwork's great, but the guy was a super jerk, you're always going to look at that tattoo as not a great thing. So that's the best I can answer that, I think.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I hadn't thought of that, but it is a whole experience. And yeah, even like you said, even if it's a beautiful piece of art, we all have associations with things, and it's not going to
Right.
feel beautiful if it was a horrible experience. That's a really good point.
Right.
Michelle, did you have a question?
And to that point, I have tattoos that my children did on me when they were very little. And if you look at them, they look like jailhouse tattoos, but they are some of my favorite tattoos because of the experience and who I was connected to, who did the tattoo, which was my daughter and my son. And they, as far as technical prowess, they're awful, but they're my favorite tattoos. So
I love that. Yeah. All right, Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, you can hear and see me, correct?
Yep.
Okay, Chris, nice to meet you, and thank you so much for being here. I'm in Colorado as well, so
Absolutely.
I would love it if you were able to put your contact information in the chat. If not, if you don't want to do that, then I can find you in your shop. It's Empire
I will
Brand North
try.
Social Club, right?
Empire Bound North is the shop that I'm at. Yes. Okay. And if I can figure out this Zoom thing, I will
And
Or maybe,
will.
I did put his links in the chat. I don't know
Awesome.
if you saw, but
I haven't been watching the chat very much. I've been focusing on people.
fair
yeah.
enough.
So my question for Chris is I have, and I'm not sure, I still see, is it Heidi? The
Yeah.
one in the purple shirt. Oh, there we go. Nope. Maybe that was Sedona. I'm looking for Chris's.
We both have purple shirts on.
Yeah, I'm wearing my
well, there
Miles
you
for
go.
Migraine shirt.
Makes sense. I'm sorry. I have a ton of nervous energy. And it's all the time. I don't want to share too much, but I need to share enough that I can find something that represents my life in the last few years. I have chronic migraine, which is vestibular, and my husband has terminal cancer, and my son struggles with suicide. So I have those main things, and those are all focal points. And I don't know if there's something that, if there is an image that represents terminal cancer. I like the sun a lot because tomorrow's a new day, and that's been one of the things that's gotten me through this entire thing, is that tomorrow is a new day. And I want to make sure that I forgot this is being recorded, so I overshared, and family, I'm so sorry. Anyway. Yeah, I forgot it was being recorded. But anyway, sorry. Maybe I'll just make an appointment with you, Chris.
That would be great. And like the first thing that pops into my head is maybe an image that involves a sunrise, and
I
then
like that.
using some particular colors to represent some of the other things. So it's all encompassed in one image, but
I like that.
gets all the points across. And like you can do things like if it's a sunrise on the ocean, let's say, you can do things with the waves to bring in some, like I like to call them Easter eggs, kind of hidden in the waves, those kinds of things. But it would make a really nice aesthetic piece.
I like that
But yes,
idea a lot.
I shared my info in the chat so that you can text me.
I will, for sure. And then Lotus is also something that I've always been interested in. And so yeah, so I'm gonna work with a design on sunrise with some colors and go from there. And
You
then
could
I'll
also
contact you.
do a lotus with like a light source behind it that kind of brings the lotus and the sunrise together. And like I'm just spitting right off the top of my head right now, but you could do a lotus with like a sun behind it, and then the lotus can provide ways to incorporate colors or some Easter eggs or other things like that.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, all right, I'm gonna sign up. I'm not gonna sign up. I'm gonna get off camera now. My nervous energy's got the best of me.
You did great. And I think that's such a good, that was a really good example. For even though it was very specific to you, like Chris, your response really, like, I think was helpful for many people in trying to combine different things.
Even though and I just want to say one more thing really fast. Even though I said I forgot it was recording, I'm actually happy that it is recording, because I don't want to hide my feelings from people, because I know that I'm not the only one going through this kind of stuff. I know that everybody deals with so many different things at the same time, and it's just like Chris said, don't put it all in one tattoo, because if I did, I would have this image of all this stuff. So anyway, I'm very, very, very thankful that Miles for Migraine has this. I have this opportunity for this this webinar, this tattoo workshop. I just wanted to tell you thank you.
Thanks. And I think you brought up another good point too, is that there is so much stigma around migraine and headache disorders and suicide and, you know, even cancer to this day. And I think when we do share about it, we're fighting that stigma, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so it looks like Sarah, let's see if I can say last names right. I can't. So it's just Anunson. I think you're next. You had a question.
Yeah, thank you for being here, everybody, because this is awesome that we can get together and chat amongst ourselves about things that are important to us. I have several tattoos. I have a cross with my semicolon, of course, for the battle that I faced over the last 14 years. I have new daily persistent headache with intractable migraine, along with severe chronic pain and fibromyalgia, and the list goes on. But I just had a stroke not that long ago. I'm actually a 2-month stroke survivor, which is amazing in itself. And I've always wanted like a lotus with the phoenix coming out of it. Is that too busy, or?
No, not if it's done right.
Okay. I mean, would it be the more simplistic? That would be better.
I think you could combine a lotus and a phoenix really well, actually.
Okay.
It would depend a little bit on the where on the body you would want it, so that kind of dictates the shape and the form of the design. You know, like a forearm is going to be very different than like a back kind
Right.
of idea. But I think those two things could come together. I would tend to lean to make the phoenix more of the focal point, and then the lotus
Right.
is kind of like one of the supporters. But it wouldn't have to necessarily be much more one of the other. They could work together pretty
Okay.
well.
It's hard because I have so many things in my life that have affected me over the last 14 years that have disabled me. And I have things on I have a tribal yin yang when I was in my head-on car crash that I survived. I have tattoo from when I got married. I have a tattoo from when I got divorced. I have a tribal sun on my back for my 2 boys who have been my rock for the last 14 years. I mean, they don't remember me sick or not being sick. I've always been sick since they've basically been alive. So it's been very difficult to focus on what is more representative. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to incorporate kind of what like even in my tribal sun, if somehow with the I don't know. I can see things in my head, but I can't get out what I'm trying to think of. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, I'm gonna squeeze in here to say, Sarah, maybe try drawing a couple of them out. There's a couple other people with questions right
No,
now,
that's fine.
so work on those, and then maybe we can circle back.
No problem. Thank you so
Sometimes
much.
just the process for me of like starting to draw it out, then brings up more questions, or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. And I was going to say, like,
go ahead.
bringing all those ideas and thoughts and those things to an artist, and then they can start categorizing them into images
Mm-hmm.
that would make sense to work in a cohesive idea. And
Right.
sometimes you can't bring them all into one idea. Sometimes it becomes two ideas, and then you just have to get another tattoo.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, you get a good excuse
Right.
to do
I have
that.
13 already, so
What's one more? Two more.
4 more is not a problem.
Great. So Jessica wrote in the chat, can you give an example of using antagonist in the design? And Jessica, if you want to chime in and give more details about what you're looking for.
Yeah. So, and I'm just going to reference some of the pictures you showed of my work. And I don't know if you can share that again, but they're like the one that pops into my head was on one of the pictures, there's a fox. It's a color piece. It's kind of a large piece. It's on the right-hand side there. If you look really close at that or you zoom in on it, the fox is also intertwined with a snake. And it's a really beautiful design and tattoo. It's very elegant, but the fox has got its paw on the snake's neck, so to speak. And this one angle doesn't show the head of the snake real well. But you can see the snake kind of wrapping around the fox, and the tail kind of comes over its head. And the snake creates some of the framework to the picture. So you have kind of the main subject, and then you have sort of that thing interacting with it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, quote unquote, an antagonist. But like on the left-hand side, you have a rose, which is more of the main subject, and then the butterflies interacting with the rose. And so you have two things working together, and then the leaves of the rose are part of the rose, but they also kind of make up a little bit of the background. So that's kind of your third element there, if you will.
That's exactly what I needed, because it's all just I wasn't sure how to think about that.
Yeah, but that's kind of like antagonist sounds like there's got to be like some sort of battle, and that may not be the right word, but an interactor or an interaction of some sort always works well in like the design world.
Perfect.
Creates an
Thank you.
action. Yeah, absolutely.
As long as we have this up, Chris, is there any other things looking at these images, like some that they make you think of, or how they kind of exemplify?
Gosh, like the paw print, obviously that's a memorial piece for a pup that my client lost recently, which I really enjoy doing paw prints and dog portraits and stuff because I'm a huge dog lover, animal lover in general, but I have two really awesome dogs that I just love and post pictures on social media all the time. So it's really enjoyable doing a really good job to kind of like capture the essence of that loss, or even if they haven't lost them yet, but just their love for them. Like the butterfly, it's just really elegant. Like you have the butterfly and the flowers are kind of part of the butterfly, and I really like that design just because it's very simple, but it's also pretty and elegant in its own way without too much stuff going on. The autumn leaves, or they're essentially they're aspen leaves, but just kind of like there was a band that wrapped around the arm, and as it got up the arm, they were kind of like floating away in nature. Just there's action there. There's some movement, but it's also very simple and will last a very long time as a good tattoo. One of the things I think like the key is just keeping them simple as you can makes for better tattoos. They can have a lot of detail, like the dog portrait is very detailed, the fox is very detailed. I mean, really all of them are really detailed, but they're simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other better. And then Catspin, you had a question?
Yeah. So my brother is sitting here with me, so we're both doing this meeting. So I'm not sure exactly how you want to word this.
So we plan on getting a matching tattoo. Specifically, if one of us were to die first, the other one would get it. And kind of my thought process is both having like our favorite flowers, mine being lily of the valley and hers being
A sunflower.
a sunflower, having them intertwine and like both shoot out in different ways, and maybe a heart at the bottom of them intertwining. How?
Sure.
Now I'm trying to figure out what my question was.
Would that be too busy? Would that be kind of a good idea, I guess?
It's pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a good idea if it's executed well, for sure.
How would you go about designing that kind of thing though? I guess. I don't know.
Really, it's pretty straightforward. Just creating two nice images of flowers. Depending on what you want to get out of each flower, one might have color, one might be black and white. Just whatever fits your personalities more.
Mhm.
And then literally bringing their stems into a heart shape.
Okay. All right. I think that was the question.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great. So it's been over 20 minutes, which is great.
There was a question in the chat, Heidi. I don't know if you saw it. It said, what are your thoughts on white ink? I'm extremely pale. I've heard it will fade quickly. I've heard it will look off colored. I've read a lot of negative, but curious what you think about using it. I love the look in pictures, but I assume those pictures are really fresh.
Yes, all those things are true. I'm a big fan of using white in my tattoos. I use white in just about everything, whether it's a black and white piece or a color piece. I really use white to create highlights and an extra step in the design. The hard part is white on its own. Depending on your complexion, your skin color, those kinds of things, it can have very, very different effects if it's just white. I use white as an accent to the other things that I do. I have done just all white tattoos before, and you get somewhere between, so the lighter the skin, the less the white shows up, even if it's very fresh, and the more it ages. White doesn't fade any more rapidly than black does, but black holds up more because it's darker pigment. They fade at the same rate, they spread at the same rate. All the tattoo inks are essentially the same. It's just what you notice versus what you get. I find that what you end up with on most fair-skinned people is the white tends to end up looking more like a scar than it does a tattoo. It's like it's off colored, but it's very close to your skin tone. Unlike African American skin or any kind of darker pigment skin, it's lighter. It definitely shows more, but it tends to have a very brown effect, if that makes sense. So it doesn't look like a scar, but it's the melanin in the skin is formed and lives in the dermis above where the tattoo lives. So the melanin in the skin, the darker the melanin, the more it affects what's under it. So you kind of think of it like a filter over the tattoo. And it just has different, it's just a different effect depending on the skin tone.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for reading my question. I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand. But that was a great explanation. Thank you.
I don't know how to do it other than this.
Finding it. So I'm gonna wrap up the Q&A with one last question for Anna, because I think it's a good way to end this section. So Anna, if you can briefly tell us, and this might not even have happened, but did getting your tattoo, the actual process or having it, has that had any impact on your quality of life or your experience with your headache disorders? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had a really good experience getting my tattoo. My oldest daughter wanted a tattoo, so we went together. We don't have matching tattoos. She designed hers. I designed mine with the artist. And he got to hear all about cluster headache and trigeminal neuralgia, right? So if anyone else comes in his shop, he is going to know where to send them for help. But I find that I got it on my forearm so that I can see it and so that it's pretty visible to other people. I was giving blood today, and the first person someone goes is, "Oh my gosh, your tattoo," and I did. I went for a natural look. And so if I'm not feeling up to explaining my headache story, I don't have to. It's a natural looking tattoo. It's mushrooms and a butterfly. But I can go as deep as I want. And for me, that's really helpful because I can tell my story through this tattoo.
Perfect. I love that. All right, so we are going to spend, I don't know, 12 to 15 minutes in breakout rooms. We'll see how long it takes us to get into the room. And what I would like you to talk about, it's kind of a show and tell. So you can share your drawing of your design and tell us any meaning it has and if the effect of working on it changed your emotions or symptoms at all, you can comment on that. But before we break up, I just really want to thank Chris and Anna for being here. You're both welcome to stay and share if you want, but we also know how valuable your time is, so it's all right for you to log off. Again, just a huge thank you for coming in and sharing your experience and expertise with us.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to thank you guys for trusting me with your stories and giving me your questions. I appreciate it. I appreciate you trusting in me to hear them and give you an honest answer to things. I also live with chronic pain. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I don't deal with migraines, but I understand what it is to live with pain every day, and I feel what you guys feel, not necessarily literally, but I understand that. So thank you for having me.
Great. Yeah, we're all, like you said, chronic pain definitely unites community for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks again. All right. So I'm gonna let Sedona direct us into the breakout rooms.
Okay.
I've gotta walk my dogs, so thank you for having
No
me.
worries. Thanks so much, Chris.
You bet.
All right, so we're going to break out into 3 rooms. There's about 5 people per room. You can, like Heidi said, it's kind of show and tell. So I'm gonna open all the rooms. They'll stay open for 10 minutes, and you have it'll give you a 60-second reminder so that you can finish up whatever you're saying or sharing. And then Christy will be in one room, Heidi will be in the other, and I'll stay in the main room to direct things. People keep leaving, so let me just
Don't go. I want to hear your ideas.
But yeah, so it'll ask you if you want to join the breakout room, just say yes, and it'll direct you to where you need to go. Okay. All right. So it looks like This is the group that's staying. Can everyone hear and see? So I don't know if any of you want to share your designs. We can go with really whoever wants to show them. I didn't have a ton of time to draw because I was dealing with chat and stuff, but anyone who has a tattoo design idea, feel free to share. If not, we can just chat. I mean, yeah, yeah, Sabrina, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I currently am in the meeting 2 times because I'm using my
Okay.
computer and my phone so that I can be on the camera.
Okay.
So sorry for that.
No worries.
And I was trying to design and I feel like the process is helpful. So I'll just show real quick like some quick sketches that I did.
I like that.
I was working on the idea of like the nerves,
Yeah.
nature, growth coming out of it. I think the brain in the center is a little too much. And then the idea of pain with the like lightning bolt symbol. The brain keeps popping up for me, but it's really not about the brain for me. It's a whole body experience. So I want to get away from the brain, but I put it up here as well, just trying to work it out of my system. The idea to keep going, but like I'm in a spiral, but at the center of that spiral, I'm just going to keep going kind of thing. It's not quite articulated here, but that's the idea I was going for. And then I started thinking more about like what words I'm trying or what ideas I'm trying to move towards. And then the idea of growth, coming out of flames is kind of growing in there. And then again, like this would be something like maybe on the neck, like targeting pain points kind of idea. So I was working on a few different ideas and I feel like I really need to keep going with it, but I'm glad that I joined the session, even though I don't have like a clear cut idea. Just working through it and trying to get some ideas out and thinking about what it is I go through, what it is I'm looking for, what I'm trying to move towards. I think that's actually really kind of cathartic, therapeutic in a way. And so I just wanted to share some of the things I was working on and see if anyone had any like, I don't know, ideas of their own, suggestions, like so we're all kind of experiencing similar like things. Maybe we can bounce things off of each other.
Yeah. The ones that stuck out were like the neuron one for me. I thought that was a really cool idea and how it grew into tree. Like it seems like you really like the idea of growth.
Yes.
Like, yeah. I have no experience designing a tattoo. Until very recently, I was convinced I was never going to get a tattoo. So, but I think you said you wanted to get away from the brain. I don't know. Does anyone have any ideas?
The idea with the brain for me is like it's just it's what everyone sees or thinks of when you talk about migraine. And I kind of want to express like it's really not just the head, it's not just the headache. There's so much more, especially like in my personal case, it's just the symptoms, the side effects, whatever you want to call them, those actually kind of affect me more than the pain. The pain is just like an everyday thing. It's like background noise at this point where I'm like, yeah, I'm experiencing like a 7, but I look like it's a 3 because I'm just so used to it.
Yeah.
So it's more about like the imbalance, the dizziness, the nausea, the light effects, like everything else that comes with it. It's an entire body experience. And I don't know how to express that it's more than just a headache.
Right.
I loved your design. I think you've got really good ideas, and I'm almost wondering, instead of creating a brain, if you create a neurological system, like just instead of being a brain, it's a neuron or whatever the right word is. And you do have they're all connected, and you do have the lightning strikes is really good for nerve pain. Like We use lightning bolts and stuff in trigeminal neuralgia all the time. Like that's kind of how we describe it. And so you could even have part of the connections being lightning bolts or connecting.
Right.
Another thing, so sometimes, so in trigeminal neuralgia, so migraine, you get trigeminal nerve pain, you get occipital nerve pain. It feels like a loose wire or a wire that's been severed and it sparks. So you could almost, maybe some of the hidden eggs could be a loose wire in there sending off sparks or something even.
That's great.
I
Thank
like
you.
the network though. That was really cool that you're drawing.
I'm kind of like, I want to do more with that and more with like the nature and growth idea. One of my like main thoughts, especially when you consider like suicidal ideation and stuff. I've done a lot of work over the years and I've gotten so much better. But I feel that there's this idea in the back of my mind that keeps me going is like, once you stop, you stop. There's really no coming back from that. And while you keep going, yes, it may get worse, it may get painful, but there's always that hope, that like that possible change to keep going. And I want to somehow bring that into the forefront of the idea.
You could do something either at the center. You could either show the center as being where you want to be, like your growth, your wholeness. And then you could show like there's still some outlying fringes, or you could do the opposite and go, this is having electrical dysfunction, but then as it grows out, it gets healthier.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
Do any of the rest of you want to share? I just want to make sure everyone has time if they want to. It looks like Sabrina is in there several times, but that's okay. Sarah or Jamie, do you want to share at all? If not, no pressure. Not all of us are drawers. I mean, I didn't really have any drawings. I can share kind of what I have in mind for a tattoo that I was gonna get. So, there's this TV show that I really like, and they all have a similar tattoo. And one of the main themes for the tattoo, or like for the show, like one of the characters even says it, is like, I will fight to protect this life that I was given, basically. Or like, and so for me, that it kind of symbolizes, it can be a battle sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to get up in the morning. Sometimes the pain's too bad, or the nausea, or whatever it may be. Or maybe you're just depressed because of all the things in your life that migraine has taken from you. And just that reminder to like keep fighting, keep going. I'm going to fight to protect this that I've already fought so hard to get. So don't really have a drawing, but that's what I was thinking for my tattoo.
That sounds really cool. So it would almost be like a badge, like
Yeah, kind of.
This is representing that I'm a part of this.
Yeah, so it's kind of like how you said with your tattoo, like on the surface, it could just be like, oh, hey, I like that TV show too. But then like on the deeper level, it's like, oh, there's real significance behind it.
Yeah. I didn't have time to draw either, but I have in my brain, I really want a tree. And it's not so much about the tree as it is about the leaves and the roots. Like the trunk can be, whatever, but I really want leaves and roots. And I would love for it to be like really long and just have little tiny roots.
That'd be cool.
Haven't figured it out yet.
It'd be cool if they like wrapped, like the roots wrapped around too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I draw typically. And I always think it would be cool to have like my own design on a tattoo, but I'm also kind of scared because like at the same time it's like, oh, that's permanent. That's like
You said you haven't had a tattoo yet, right?
no.
I had no idea what the process was like until I went through it. And it was so cool to see, because I can't draw. Now, my daughter did draw her own, and he just took a picture of it and he printed it onto this paper, and hers is on her shoulder. And he just went over it in the ink.
That's awesome. All right. Well, it looks like everyone's back. So, Heidi, did you guys have enough time to share?
We did. I didn't share, but that's okay. I really just drew something for this event. Like I didn't need to share. But did everyone else? If anyone didn't get to share and they want to share now, you can. All right. Well, then I'm going to wrap things up. Hopefully you enjoyed getting to share your ideas. I definitely enjoyed hearing about other people's. And we want to encourage you to post them on your social media page and to tag Miles for Migraine. That way we can see each other's even if we weren't in the breakout rooms together. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll have a chance to share it with our community. And then I just wanted to let people know, I don't have tattoos, so I don't know if this is good advice, but I was thinking it might be a good idea to take your design out for a test drive. So maybe draw it on your skin with temporary tattoo pens or with henna, or, get temporary tattoos made that you just, put on for like a week. And then you can try it in different locations and see if it really is your forever design. And then I want to encourage you to fill out our survey. Let us know what you liked and what you didn't like about this event. And we would also love to hear your ideas for future social events. So we're going to put that link in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, check the notes below. Maybe we will have figured out how to put it there. I don't know if it will be there, but check. And then again, thank you so much to Chris and to Anna, who's still here. It was so great to have you. And really, Anna, you were such a huge, when I saw your tattoo, I was like, oh, so many people need to see this tattoo and be so interested to hear about the whole process. So you were a huge inspiration for the event. We hope to see all of you at an upcoming Miles for Migraine event and or support group. If you enjoy art, then you can check out our live and recorded mindfulness sessions that focus on art. And a lot of our social events focus on art, so be sure to look for those. You can learn more about Miles for Migraine programming on our website and our YouTube channel, which we're going to try and put in the chat. And like I said at the beginning, we would appreciate any donation you're able to make to support Miles for Migraine programming. And finally, just, fill out the survey. I'm so glad you came. And I really look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, everyone.